Welcome to the Meet Crete podcast, where we sit down and talk with people who make Crete run every day. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm one of the creative producers in the communications department at Crete Carrier. Today, we're going to talk to Alex Braun, who you've been here a while, right?
Yep, I've been here at Crete for 10 years.
10 years, okay. And he has kind of an unusual way to get to where he's going, and you're kind of on your track. I'll let you explain it, but you're kind of on your way to doing this kind of thing while you're in college, and you kind of made it there in a roundabout way. Is that a fair representation of what I just said?
Okay. It is. So I kind of took the long way around to get there. But so my undergrad was in supply chain management.
There you go.
So between my junior and senior year before coming,
That's okay.
Between my junior and senior year, I got an internship at Crete Carrier within the operations department. And so from there, I got a job full-time after graduation, and I did probably another 6 to 8 months there. And then after that, I was introduced to my boss and started working in the analytics team after that, and that's where I've been ever since.
And so now you are, what is your title now?
I'm a senior data analyst.
So you analyze data all day long?
Yep. Any reporting needs that the company has, we do a lot of work with the operations department specifically, but it could be, we do a lot with safety as well, and anywhere in between.
When somebody says data analytics, automatically the math side of my head shuts down the rest of the cognitive abilities that I have. But when you say data management or data analysis, what are you really looking at? Are you looking at tires? Are you looking at freight? What are we talking about?
A lot of what we do is looking at freight and patterns and some compliance metrics as well. So we do a lot of work with our operations team, and they're looking at how well we're performing. So one of our big reports is on-time delivery. And so this was many years ago, probably one of the first reports that we put together. They were curious how our on-time delivery stats were looking, and so we create the reporting that allows them to have a good look and evaluate where we might have some pain points or struggle points, and just to make sure we're providing the best service we can to our customers.
And that is really important information down the road for on-time delivery and customer satisfaction and that kind of, and we'll get into a lot more of that and what you do a little bit later on, but you're just a regular guy like everybody else, kind of. Yep. So where'd you go to undergrad?
So I did my first 2 years at Iowa State University, and then
Cyclone. Interesting.
Yep. But then I transferred to Nebraska to finish my undergrad degree.
Cool.
But then after that, I worked here for a few years, and then I went and got my master's degree in business analytics.
They have a master's in business analytics now?
Yep, they do.
Wow, that's interesting. Do you live around here? You live in Lincoln?
I live just north of Lincoln. My wife and I, we live out on an acreage. We've got horses, cats, dogs, and just love and living the country life.
It must be nice. You farm out there at all?
Yep, I've got a little bit of hay, so every summer I take a little bit of time to get the hay in and put up bales.
Are you baling yourself? Are you in the back of the wagon?
Running the tractor, yep. So baling it up, and then we come back. And
the tractor does it for you?
Yep.
Yeah, I get it. I actually worked on one of those wagons for a summer, and it was not even a summer. It was like 3 days, and it was the most grueling work I've ever done in my life.
I want to say it was 110 degrees, I think, when we bailed this summer.
Oh, man. It has to be. It's like the state fair, right? It has to be 1,000 degrees or it's not worth doing.
Yep.
You've been married for how long?
11 years now.
11 years. And
so I actually got married between my sophomore and junior year, which is what brought me to Nebraska.
Well, there you see. It's always a woman. It's always a woman. So tell me what you do with your free time. What are you interested in? What do you do besides throwing hay around?
So one of the things I do is I work part-time for Pinnacle Bank Arena and Pinewood Bowl as an AV and IT tech. So I get to work a lot of concerts, basketball games, you name it. It's more of a hobby than anything, but video, audio, IT, those are all kind of some of my passions as well. And I get to use that in a fun atmosphere and see some good shows and basketball games and other things like that.
That's great. It's kind of a dichotomy. You don't see a whole lot of, an audio-visual guy who's a fairly technical field, also has a hay farm.
Nope. So, like I said before, me and my wife, we also have horses too. So,
Oh, you have horses as well. That's
yep.
nice.
So we enjoy horseback riding. We do some trail riding competitions.
Well,
and just
that
going
makes
out for fun.
sense
So,
because you are part of Nebraska Horse Trails, right? This organization. I'd never heard of it. So tell me all about that.
yeah. So the Nebraska Horse Trails Committee helps to improve, maintain, and create horse trails throughout the state of Nebraska. And really, it's any kind of trail. So if you go out to Branched Oak Lake, there's multi-use trails that are used by hikers, bikers, as well as horse riders as well. So it's a service that benefits a lot of people in the communities that we go out into.
How many miles of horse trails are there in the state?
That is a fantastic question, and I'm not sure I know that answer.
If you had to guess, though, I'm not going to hold you to it. There's no right or wrong answer.
I mean, there's probably close to over 1,000, I would guess.
Really?
All the different trails throughout the state.
Well, it's a big state, and it makes sense. Are there areas where horses are ridden on trails more often than, or more readily than, like I don't see horses riding around in Lincoln and Omaha. When you go to the Mopac, you don't see a lot of horses. So I'm just saying.
Yep. Believe it or not, the Mopac does have horse trails.
Do they
going
really?
by
Oh,
it,
well.
so you can out there. Like I said, Branched Oak, Lake Cunningham, north of Omaha. There's some horse
sure.
trails. So there are a lot of good places to ride around the Lincoln and Omaha area. But then there's also lots that aren't quite as close. You've got Branched Oak Lake or way out west in Fort Robb. That's a very popular place as well.
And so how does that work? Is it like a boat ramp type thing where you unload your horse and you get on the trail and you go for it? How does that work?
Yep. So there's often campgrounds as well. But yeah, there's big parking areas where you park, unload your horse, go out, ride for however many miles and come back, load up and leave, or you might stay and camp for the weekend. And especially if there's a lot more horse trails to explore.
I would imagine if you're a horse owner, you want to exercise the animal, number one, but part of the reason why you got a horse is so you could ride the thing. It's nice that we have that opportunity in the state. Wish I had a horse. I don't. But it sounds very rewarding.
Yep, it is. And right now is about the perfect time of the year when you got these nice, cool fall days. The leaves are changing, and just spending a few hours on the back of a horse riding through the parks.
What are the names of your horses?
So my horse's name is Dan. My wife's horse is Ace. She also has a retired horse, Zeke. And then we have a mini horse, Hannah, and a mini mule, Samuel.
Okay, so now we got to get into the mini mule. How big is the mini mule? Like the size of a golden retriever? What are we talking about?
He's probably bigger than that.
Really?
Yep. So he's definitely small for a mule, but he is pretty large.
So a mule is it a horse father and a donkey mother, or is it the other way around?
It's a horse mom and
a horse mom
donkey
and
dad.
Okay.
A hinny would be the other way around.
Okay. I grew up in the burbs, man. I have no idea. So yeah, mules are bigger than donkeys, and sometimes they're much bigger than horses. Mm-hmm. So a mini is just like a horse then. Is that what you're saying?
Not quite that big. He probably stands
at the shoulder.
Yeah.
So he's about 3.5 feet tall at the shoulder.
He's probably closer to 2 at the shoulder.
And what do you do with a mini mule?
They're just fun to have around, and we got them for companion animals too. So when we take our 2 horses that we ride on a regular basis out, and we've got the 1 horse left, there's another horse there to keep them company because horses are pack animals. So.
Yeah, as opposed to getting a goat or something like that. And I've heard of that before. I didn't know that they came in mini sizes. It's fun.
Yep.
It's Halloween season. It's time to buy your mini mule. What do you like the most about working at Crete and doing what you do?
Crete has allowed me to explore a lot of different facets of my job too, and I'm able to continually learn. So that's something I greatly enjoy, learning from different departments on what their needs and functions are and how we can help them to do their jobs better as well. So it's definitely been glad to be supportive in that way.
I know we were talking via email. You were saying you very much like the supportive atmosphere. How does that work where you are?
if I've got ideas on how we can improve things and make things better, my boss is always open to listening and considering what I have and trusting the experience I've got to look into products or new methods or ways to do things that we can do things better.
Is there a lot of innovation on a daily, monthly, yearly basis of data analytics and bringing that stuff in, the way you break it down? I have no idea. That it's so far outside my wheelhouse. I couldn't even guess.
Maybe not quite on that daily level, but definitely once you start looking long term, we're definitely looking to make changes and make things better and more efficient. So we're currently working on a big project to change our database over to a new platform, which will make things better, faster, will end up saving us money in the long run and providing us with some great new features that we can do more in-depth analysis.
So this reporting platform that you were talking about earlier, what is involved with moving from the platform you have now to something new? Like, is that a very involved thing?
It is pretty involved. So we use a language called SQL to, the language of getting data. So that's the same between the two platforms, but the way they go about it is different. So we have to kind of edit and change what we've got and rewrite everything for the new platform. So it definitely is a very manual process to get everything moved over.
So I'm sure there's a lot of moving parts. So how many different metrics or configurations or whatever are we talking about? Is it tens, hundreds, thousands?
Right now we've got 1,000 different reports on our reporting server. So we're working very hard to try to narrow down the scope of what we've got as well. Just because over my 10 years, we've created many, many reports. Some fade away that aren't used as often, so we'll look to remove those. And we're also seeing how we can enhance the reporting we have while we're already touching all of these reports. What can we do to make it better?
So give me an example on day-to-day, something that you work on that affects a drop-off, delivery, a pickup. How does what you do in your analysis figure into what we do as a trucking company?
Yep. Well, one of the projects that I did several years ago is our driver scorecard. And so what that can do is it helps provide visibility to our drivers on how they're performing on a day-to-day basis. So every week we create a new scorecard and they're able to access that within their TransFlow mobile app. So they can have an open discussion with their fleets team about how they're performing. They can see whether they're on track for their next quarterly mileage bonus, making sure their fuel compliance is in check and things like that.
So for a guy who's just behind the wheel, he doesn't have to keep track of all those numbers because you do it for him, and he can take your analysis with him wherever he goes.
Yep, exactly.
It's pretty fascinating, actually. What would you like to work on next? Like, what is the next big pie in the sky idea that you'd like to work on? I understand there's a lot of hands in that, but
That's a great question, and I'm not entirely sure. A lot of the best projects are the ones that just come from an off-the-cuff conversation and just thinking, hey, what if we could do this or what if we could do that? And we run with it and try to improve upon it and make it better.
Very cool. Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're looking at everything, keeping track of it. We appreciate it. Thanks for sitting down today. I appreciate that too.
Yep. Thanks, Dave.
You bet. Thanks for listening and watching the Meet Crete podcast. And just remember, you can find all of our weekly updates, driver stories, and more episodes of this podcast right here on our YouTube channel. We'll be back to find out more about the people we work with inside Crete Carrier and Schaefer Trucking in the next episode of Meet Crete.